Well, hey, good morning to you kids. You beautiful beings that you are. Here we are all the way up to November 22 in 2012. Whatever that is, this funny measurement of time that we use. Most of us don't even think about the calendar and the clock. But they're weird. They're out of kilter with the reality of time. And we make a big deal out of some days being better than others, some days being a little more special than others, and we designate certain days on our calendar as holidays, you know, so we can go out and party and play and have a good excuse to do it, you know. Gather together and share love and food and good things like that, and gifts, you know. I mean, holidays are awesome things because it gives humans an excuse to actually try to be civil with one another, to not feel so isolated, to participate in what we call the collective heart, and that is to recognize that you know one another on levels that go far beyond what we see in this visible reality, what we call 3D. So just like everything, even though time doesn't match with calendars and clocks, no matter how accurate they may be, it's there for a reason and a purpose. We chose as a collective consciousness, as human beings, to become human beings, to experience a feeling of isolation, separation from the rest of creation. Oh, Angel's just getting settled down back here, getting herself feeling a little better. She's such a beautiful dog. She's had a nice snooze all night long. And still hasn't been out yet this morning, but it's about 18 degrees out there, and she ain't too cool on getting out there till she has to. And the sun's hiding behind some clouds this morning, so we're kind of waiting. So she's giving me some time to do this video, sweetheart that she is. So, and let me explain just a bit of what I mean about calendars and clocks not matching time. Time is a variable thing. Right now, just a few minutes ago, I was outside and I see this big old jet plane at 35,000 feet come flying over the mountain, spewing out all kinds of awful stuff out of the back end of it and leaving a streak in the sky that's going to make it kind of more hazy today as it spreads out. Doesn't evaporate like a contrail does, a water vapor trail. It's got material in it. You know, there are those that are using the skies in these big old airplanes to try and evade ascension, to try and evade the age of truth. And not only are they trying to block out the healing effects that are coming through the sun right now in the sky, but they're trying to create a little trick that will bop us back in time. So it kind of puts us on a start over again place where, you know, quote, quote, they can maintain their attitude of control. And anymore, I don't even think they're too concerned about the control, the people that seem to run the joint. They're more concerned with saving their ass, because they know truth will be exposed no matter how many tricks they play. They can only delay and stall. There was a quote in this one video this morning that I posted about top secrecy in government and so forth, and George Bush Sr. saying something like, Well, if the people ever really came to the truth, they'd chase us down the street and lynch us for what we've done. And that's probably true, given the anger and the hurt and the pain we feel in our isolation, and given our history, how we tend to take it out on other people, to cast all of our weaknesses and infirmities into another race, another nation, the next door neighbor even, and create war with those people so you can fight that shit outside yourself instead of dealing with it inside. And you know, there's varying degrees of this, but that's generally how we've approached it. But when I say calendars and clocks don't match time, time being the variable, and these guys trying to create the big trick, among others, they got a few other little tricks up their sleeves too. Believe me, they're going down hard, they're trying, and they're not going to stop until they realize that no harm will come to them. Because despite our history, and even the anger you might be feeling right now, we're not the killing type. We don't believe in fear. We've only isolated ourselves so that we could know what fear is, so we could feel it and act upon it. Yeah. But our true nature, at the core of our being, is to be peaceful and loving towards all, and to share nothing but joy. And when we finally realize the extent to which we've been brought into the roles we play here, and realize what an act it is, that every little movement, action, word, everything we do and say is created in the collective consciousness of the heart, the one heart of humanity. And humanity includes the deer, the elk, the buffalo, the dog, the bird, the bee, all of it. That's why everything we do as humans seems to affect the animal kingdom, and vice versa. Plant kingdom as well. We're all in this together. A singular consciousness. The consciousness of the collective heart. Now, in the beginning, which there is no beginning, but before we became assembled as enlightened beings, we, the intelligence of creation, were floating along in waves. Beautiful, sparkly little waves comprised of great golden light. Each being, as we know ourselves now, was a little spectre, a little star in this huge wave of glowing light. And that is where we still be. We're no longer isolated. We're no longer alone. We still flow in that happy little dance of the wave. We still sparkle and shine. We still can't see beyond the concept of love. There is nothing else. That's all there is. And love is the cohesion that causes us in these big waves to work in harmony, to be these waves of love that are affecting and influencing life all around us, to always be that which we are in the original. So you see, time is but an extension into experience from that wave. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this wave. You have to do a little personal searching first to find it, to remember it, to be it. But I'll promise you right here and now, if you do that, if you'll spend a little time in meditation, third eye, open palms of the hand, if you just do that, You can do it sitting up, lying down, walking down the street. Though it's a little more tricky when you're doing other things. It's best to have a clear space, no distraction, so you can get some focus. Bring yourself into being. This is why those of us that are more of the mystical persuasion spend so much time to ourselves, because we're doing this processing. And even when we're living, we still are. But this is how you get there, you know. There's veils of illusion that seem to separate you from the reality of truth. That you still are that little specter, that little star in the waves of life, of God, Goddess, creation. But that's where we are. And through those veils, we've separated ourselves from it and created ourselves as, quote, quote, an individual being, one with needs, wants, desires, inequities, insufficiencies that we're always trying to fill with others as well as within ourselves. It's practical experience, and the ages have been nothing but that. A creation of practical experience, a way to come and know and love ourselves as something much less than what we actually are, to live a lesser state so that we could appreciate the higher state. If one's never been alone, how could one ever appreciate getting back together again? When you live in the wave and all you know is love and truth and understanding, how can you appreciate that without having removed yourself from it and experienced something far more treacherous, different than that? See, so I tell you time and again, that's why we've chosen this route, this path, this thing we call time. And see, time is the game in which we play. It's how we define it. It's what separates us. Time is what separates us from our original state of being. The true love that we are, in communicable harmony with everything that is. Now, we experience tiny little moments of that sometimes in sexual practice with a partner of, suitable means. Once in a while, there'll be an opening in those sweet little moments where you actually begin to remember. And usually, it scares the hell out of you, and you become afraid of sex. You back away. You don't want to do it anymore. Came too close that time, baby. Almost experienced truth. Because it is through reconnecting with one another that we come back together again. I mean, that's pretty simple. That's pretty elemental and beautiful. How else would it be? How else would we reassemble ourselves except to find ourselves here in the form of another and to experience the fullness of all life and creation in harmony with that other person? It's not the thing that you know of as sex now, or making love, or however you wish to describe it. It's not that thing. The physical element's a small, tiny part of it, yet it's a necessary part. It's a little gateway, a way to re-experience our moment of truth. And which is what we're all going to be doing pretty soon anyway. There'll be a moment coming forward. And excuse me for the terminology, but you could call it one giant fuck. Because there'll be so many of us joined in that moment as partners in cohesion with everything that is, that it does become that which reassembles us with our original being and purpose. Now, that's quite a stretch. And you don't hear many people talking about such things as this out there when they're talking about planetary ascension. They're channeling the ancient masters and the givers of wisdom from beyond the stars and so forth, you know. And I'm hardly circumspect about all of that. You got to realize that every experience you've ever chosen for yourself, including the one I just described, is something that comes from the heart of the collective within you, those waves. We're still together thinking consciously in those waves. You don't do anything in your life that isn't determined by that collective. You make no choices. That's the illusion. And when I hear these beings of great light and wonder, these Pleiadians and Syrians, you know, I used to post a lot of solutions. You notice I don't do that anymore. It doesn't make sense. There's truth, yes. Great poetry, yes. But a great deception as well, because they still speak of dividing away, of free choice, individual will, of one segment of humanity going one way and the other going the other, because they weren't ready. And that's a collective crock of horse shit. And horse shit is valuable fertilizer, meaning that these people that are involved in these situations, these channelings and so forth, are actually benefiting from it. You know, it's a way of helping them open and expand their consciousness. They're not quite ready to assign to themselves that much authority, that much connection. So they try to find it through others outside themselves. I mean, this is pretty common in humanity now, isn't it? So there's a reason why beings exist at that level at this time, and why they're participating in the Great Deception, and why governmental types even are participating with them as well. You know, and trying to evade truth, the great age of truth. Some people have been pretty low. Some people have been pretty far removed from it, myself included. But I got brought back. Same as you are. Same as all the rest of us are going through. That's what's happening now. It seems like it's pulling itself apart. Like we're never going to get there. But when it springs back together, when the realization of the collective comes through you, when you get through with your little avenue and path, because each path is individual, even if it's determined by the collective. It's your piece of the pie, your conscious, unconscious experience. It's for you, the little sparkle from the wave. The waves of love, the waves of life. You see? So, I'm not saying hold anybody or anything in great disdain. Of course not. Respect the experience they're going through. Try to help them change it. But be wise within yourself. Give yourself this time. Ascertain truth. Find it within yourself, your heart. Don't look outside yourself too far, other than for clues. Something out there might remind you of what's in here, such as the words I'm speaking right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. We're helping each other wake up in this way. And even those who think to deceive you, as I've just described, are helping you to wake up too. Because they have to share a certain amount of truth. They just have to. They can't help it. And you know, your internal workings, the wisdom of the ages lives inside of you. And as you spend time in communion with yourself, you're going to find more of the means to tell truth from lies, until there are no lies and there is no deception. And everything is as it truthfully is. And we, as those waves, those little sparkles in the waves, can enjoy being an individuated person, working in communion and in harmony with the collective heart, the collective consciousness of everyone. Now I've described in 1,000 different ways how this works. But let me share that one little vision with you once again, where we see the consciousness we call God, Creator, Great Spirit, as a person looking out on the vastness, and through a motion of love expands itself into creation and creates creation while it's so doing. Everything that we see, the stars, the moon, the plants, the trees, the animals, the skies, the sun, everything, it becomes that, and us too. It spreads itself out, thin, to the outer edges, the outer reaches of what we see as reality here, which is really just the limits of the playpen that we're in. And it does this, and as it does this, as it expands into all these individuated little parts of creation, it experiences that experience through you, your little tiny part of creation, through that blade of grass that just got munched by a sheep and turned into poop, etc., and so on. It wanted to experience the greatness, the fullness of living. So it expanded itself into this, and actually kind of lost its consciousness. It spread it out so thin. I mean, it never really gets lost, but it spread it out vastly. And not just through this universe, but through the universes. There's several, many, and many dimensions in time, too. That's another story for another day. But once it reached a point where, you know, collectively, it could have, lost itself in these individuated forms, it immediately began the activity, because it recognized the fullness of its experience, that it had gone as far with this as it could, and out of love and respect for itself, it started to reassemble its consciousness, not by contracting creation, but by bringing itself back together again, inside of itself, even as it expands through creation. Now this is something that defies time, in a sense, goes beyond time. So what it's doing is right back at the beginning, where it began to spread itself in to creation. It's helping creation now remember that moment. And it set up all kinds of cues and codes and so forth along the way to help itself to remember, to guide it back into itself, from out of this experience of individuatedness, of isolation, aloneness. But it keeps its individuated parts. It glorifies them and loves them for the experience it's been in. But it gathers its consciousness once again, so each part of the collective begins once again to experience the whole. And all the ideas of division, whether they be in this three-dimensional world with ideas of race and, you know, personalities that clash and so forth, whether it be that or far beyond that, it's all heading into that essential truth. And nothing that any part of creation is doing, including the chemtrailers, or anyone else that's messing with time in some way, or messing with Mother Earth and trying to corrupt her and turn her into a day of terror, where everything just falls apart, whatever they're doing. It's a part of the design of the great collective heart. And in some way, it fits. It may not be easy to understand from this side of the fence, this personal form that we're in now. But thank goodness our consciousness is coming back to us. and that we're beginning to kind of separate ourselves from the concept of time, to know experience as it is, simultaneous, all together in the truthful nature of one heart. Now, when you look into another person's eyes and finally recognize the truth of yourself, it means you're ready. And that's the moment we've all been waiting for. You want to know what all these little love games, these breakups and get back togethers and try this partner, that partner, and just the thing that makes us not stay in these miserable marriages that we've created for ourselves. The thing that won't let us stay even with a dating partner if they're not right, if they don't fit. We'll give each other comfort along the way, and then there comes a point of separation because that isn't it. You're looking for that person that flies right alongside of you in that wave, kind of. People call it twin flames, soulmates, whatever, It doesn't have to be a person. It's an energy, and it can transfer from person to person, obviously. But one person will transmit it to you better than any other. But there's where we've really been given some warpage. Because the lies and legends all say true love exists between a man and a woman. And that's where paradise lies. Now, in a way, truth. In another way, unobtainable as we have been. Because that light would never come on. There'd be little moments here and there, enough to keep us going, of great connection, of remembering the wave. But we've deliberately frustrated ourselves and created this pain of separation to amplify the heart consciousness to such an extent that it can't help but call itself back together. Now, this isn't just in couples. This is in units of what I would call spirit family. Those that fly together in the same section of the wave of love, the sparkling little stars. Now do you begin to see the coyote nature of this life? What a freaking joke it is. Yet, absolutely serious, man. We're loving it. We're digging it. We're liking it. Even as we suffer. Especially as we suffer. We created suffering to help us understand peace. And why such a thing should be. Etc., etc. Everything here, when considered from the collective heart, makes perfect sense. And guess what? There is the key to forgiving and understanding ourselves. When the consciousness collects inside of you, and you begin to see the nature of the collective heart working through you and understand that all of your activities have been directed by that collective, that's where the choices are made, if there are choices to be. It's in the collective. And what's in one is in another too, and another. It's in all of us. All of our activities. Everything we do, every little choice we seem to make or don't make, is determined by the collective heart. And when you can see this without words, when you just know it, then you're ascended. Because there is nothing here you can hold against yourself or anyone else. Just like you can't blame the actors in the movie for all the horrible stuff that went on there. It's a movie. It's something like that here. That's why we've created movies, to remind us of what we're really doing here. Even this little movie that we're making right now. God, I love the levels of creation, don't you? And it's like, imagine how it is when the divisions no longer exist and we can experience life in all of its levels and forms. So you're going to get a lot more clues and hints along the way here as you go along now. I mean, these are phenomenal times of great opening. Yeah, they really are. No matter, what kind of lies and deceptions go right along with it, It's the beginning of the age of truth. And babies, we're just stepping right into it. And don't expect it to happen on December 21 or 11/22 or any other date. Because it's not determined by a calendar, and a calendar can't measure it. It's determined by the collective heart and the extent of its experience and where it wants to be. When we finally come together, there may not even be a date to it, yet we'll still live in this extension we call time. It's a little difficult to explain in words. But I know you's feeling it. I know you's grasping it and starting to bring it back together inside of yourself. Because I feel it happening inside of me. And that's where it works the best. So now I got to get up off my duff here and get my little angel out for a walk and go out and party and play with my friends and family, spirit family today, because there's a beautiful excuse to do so. And we've changed the name of this day from Thanksgiving to Love, which is what Thanksgiving is anyway. Just remember, whether you're a pilgrim, a pioneer, an Indian, whatever, we're in this together. Those lies and illusions by which we've operated, those things that made us advance as nations and kill one another for the purpose of expansion of our species as opposed to your species and so forth. The worst of experience, yes, the biggest of lies, the greatest of transgressions yet. Remember the worst war movie you ever saw. Did you blame John Wayne for playing the part of a beast? I mean, he's an actor. He gets paid to do that crap. We get paid here too, but not in terms of dollars and cents. Our reward's what's awaiting us inside right now. So go, take a minute right now and spend some time in communion. Get yourself together, babies, and let's rock. But don't forget to party and play with one another. And, you can let go of the phoniness and the pretensions. If you don't like somebody right now, and you got family that's phonier than $3 bills, and so on and so forth, you know what I mean? Take a look inside of yourself. What's this trying to teach you? What's it trying to tell you? Are there parts of yourself, elements that are a little out of whack with even the material reality? Or maybe it's time to move on from that form of experience. How much respect do you have for yourself? Are you willing to go it on your own? Won't be for long, but that illusion still exists. And you might as well play it out. Whatever you've been given. Don't create harm for one another. But whatever you've been given, run with it. If it feels right, give yourself the opportunity to experience it. Let go of the fear. Be wise, but let go of the fear. In other words, play your part well. See what the collective is doing through you. Maybe you can understand the purpose of your individual experience then. and forever forgive yourself for anything that's done anywhere, anytime. And no longer take and heap the blame upon yourself or anyone else. And there's your age of peace. Because peace only exists in truth. Love you guys. Happy Love Day, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Hi.